Yo guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I will be talking about fight or flight. Alright, so Prime Video has finally graced us with the release of Fight or Flight, a movie that has aired in the United States, I think a few months ago already, maybe even 6 months ago. It did not come to Belgium and the Netherlands, but today we are finally able to watch it in this country because they put it on Amazon Prime Video, so thank you very much for that. Fight or Flight is a movie I was excited for when I first heard about it, because the idea just seemed fun, like a bunch of fighting on a plane. That would have been nice to have. And I wanted to watch it, of course, because of Trap. I became aware of who Joshua Hartnett was, and I liked him in Trap. I liked Trap because of him. Don't like Trap because of the film. Story of Trap is atrocious, but you know, he was good in that one. So I was kind of excited to see more of Joshua Hartnett, and he absolutely killed it in this role. I think he was by far the best part of this movie again. He did it in a phenomenal way. He was funny. He had a comedic timing that was just genius. He had timing of everything that was just genius. It was just that the story that they provided for this film did not work in any way whatsoever. The side characters that they pulled up for this film, like the ghost, was interesting. I pretty much liked her, and some of the secondary characters were also quite nice. There were a lot of things I had problems with the bad guys of this film, because I thought those were just a bunch of meat sacks, which was basically the case, but I kind of wanted to have more of them. I kind of wanted more sauce with that one. There's also the other characters that are continuously behind computer screens. They're talking to each other and that are kind of pulling the strings on everything. And I absolutely did not like them. They were annoying, they were boring, and they were... Yeah, you've seen them countless times before. Every time a movie like this pulls them up, I have it like, okay, it's going to be the same again. And it was exactly the same again this time, so that was not interesting at all. There is also a sequence I want to talk about, because I usually always hate those sequences with everything I have in my life, which is a sequence where someone gets drugged and you can see the drug perspective of it. It's always unnecessary, it's always just for funsies, and it never actually really is fun. But for some reason in this one it kind of works, and I kind of really enjoyed that scene. That was a pretty funny fucking scene. Maybe because of the way Joshua Hartnett played it, because that was, or Josh Hartnett, I don't know, Hartnett played it, because that was genuinely really funny, and there were things happening in real life, and the way he was imagining things, and the way he reacted to those things, I really, really liked that. That was great, that was awesome, that was pretty fucking funny. I deeply enjoyed that. With that being said, the story that they provided for this movie, I think, is a little bit too far-fetched, maybe even. If you just had them duking it out on a plane, everyone would have been happy. They tried to get a story for this, and the story is important, of course. You can't just have fighting, because that will not have been fun. But they chose a story that is both very predictable, but also overly done, which is not always bad, because even if a story is overdone, you can do some things with the action you have which make it interesting, and there's some of that happening in this film. But the way that they focused on this story, they also focused on it way too hard. They really, really should have dialed back on a lot of things with the story. It's so overly done, but they take it so incredibly serious with moments that you think like, okay, where are you going with this? And that's just not interesting after a while anymore. And they keep adding up on that, and they keep adding things to it, and you just want them to fight, and you just don't want the story that you weren't even remotely interested in from the beginning. You don't want it to overtake the entire film, and especially near the ending, it really does. And they kind of forget the fight and they get to the ending of the film, and you should have stopped the movie like a minute sooner, because there's this ending, this last minute of the film, it just made me a little bit angry, because it's very apparent that they wanted to set up a sequel that is probably never going to happen, and also really just was not necessary. Even nobody had a story that was a little bit too big for its own good for that film, but at least the story was interesting because of the way Bob Odenkirk played the role and played that character. Joshua Hartnett, or Josh Hartnett's character, even though he plays it to perfection, his character is not the most interesting character. You just want to see them fight. You just want to see him get into situations and try to find a way to survive that situation as well. There are a few instances where I was thinking like, okay, how the fuck is he surviving this? And the plot armor on this guy is insane. But in a movie like this, you can have plot armor. It works. But the story that this movie added to it really wasn't necessary. Really wasn't necessary to be that big and that convoluted and that serious. It could have been just a stupid story that was just for fun, just to get these characters on the plane and just to get these characters to kill each other. After a while, they also go a little bit too far with how they fucking try to kill anyone, because things like chainsaws and exploding things start happening. And in the beginning, they are really logical, like why the fuck are you shooting a gun? What if you shoot through the fucking plane and we all get sucked out? That was a genuinely really interesting, really good thing because that they thought about that. But 5 minutes later, they thought like, okay, now we need to have more fun, and they forgot about that and they just threw at each other whatever they could find. Doesn't mean I did not have fun with it. I mean, as I said before, the most important thing about this film is the action, is the fighting on the plane that's happening, is the fight or the flight, which is by far the fight is the most interesting thing and not the flight, because this movie could have happened anywhere, basically. But the fight is good, and I really like the fight. And even that scene with the drugging, I'm not gonna say what it exactly is, but there's a scene with drugs, that also really works. That's also pretty fun. So in the end, I had more fun with this than I hated things. I just have a lot of problems with it that could have made the movie better, more memorable. Because even though I had fun with it, I do think that this film will not stay in my mind for a very long time. I do think whenever I go back at the end of the year and think about all the movies I have watched, and this film will probably be in the list when I scroll through it. I was like, oh yeah, I watched that one as well. What was it about? Oh yeah, about that. It's going to be something like that, and it's not going to be anything more. Not that it needs to be. It's just a fun, quick time. If you're bored, you can have fun with this film. It's not a bad film. In the end, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars and a heart. I think 3 stars is just a little too much for it. 2.5. It's good enough in my opinion. Alright, what did you think of this film? Please let me know in the comments down below, because I'm really excited to hear your opinion on this. I want to thank you for watching, and I'd like to see you in the next video. Thank you, and bye bye.